If you're planning on using a business to escape the grind, then you need to hear this. Because the harsh truth is, most business owners feel trapped. They're losing precious time juggling endless tasks. But every second you spend on them blinds you from the bigger picture. Growth, freedom, and the life you envisioned. I know because I've been there. So if you want to avoid all that, here's 6 things the top 1% know that will launch you into freedom. Lesson 1 is to focus on high value tasks. The first thing I recommend anyone to do is get the hell out of operations. Now, I used to spend 80% of my time stuck in traffic or working in food markets. And even though I was running a 6-figure business, I knew I was heading for a brick wall because I wasn't doing the high-level task that could bring in an extra 50 or 60k per year and take the business to another level. Now, I didn't have the margins to leave ops entirely, but I still needed to free up my time. The solution? Build systems or stay stuck. So I automated my stock purchasing with a simple spreadsheet and created admin templates to save time. It might sound basic, but these minor tweaks gave me an hour to go to the gym, and that gave me the mental space I needed to tackle the real issues properly, like updating the menu and coming up with a rebrand. Having simple systems is the difference between who you are today and the person you want to be tomorrow. And if you look around, none of the top entrepreneurs work on the front lines. Think of someone like Stephen Bartlett. He started in social media marketing and owns one of the biggest podcasts of last year. And he didn't get his fortune by editing videos. He got there by building systems, hiring staff, and scaling big ideas. True wealth comes from owning assets that you can then sell for a profit. I mean, if you know an investor that is happy to spend 300 grand to buy an 80-hour-a-week job, give me their number. I can find them one straight away. But it doesn't exist in the real world. There's just no value in doing that. So if you want to build a business that gives you freedom, start with one task and then spend the time it saves creating systems in other areas. That's how you free up your time and build a sellable asset that multiplies your input. Lesson 2 is be brutally honest about your business's potential. This lesson changed how I looked at companies forever because I realized certain businesses just aren't geared up for massive success. They might give you a decent income, but they're a never-ending grind that won't give you a 7 or 8-figure exit. I'm talking about things like life coaching, personal training, and my old business selling street food. There's so much competition and everyone's competing on price because it's easy to copy. As a general rule, solving bigger problems gets you better margins, and when customers desperately need something, you can then price it based on value. Now, an easy example in the UK is private healthcare, and even myself, I had to spend about £1,500 last year on an injury to my knee because the NHS just has no capacity right now. And the more you niche down, the more appealing your business is to a specific group of people, so your products are even more valuable. And because you now have higher margins, you can reinvest profits to improve the business, and this creates a virtuous cycle that widens the gap between you and your competitors. But most businesses aren't in this scenario. They're selling nice-to-haves to a broad audience and just about getting by on a weekly or monthly basis. This is okay, but you're the first thing people stop buying when times are tough. And then,
you're fucked.
It doesn't mean your business is a waste of time, and there are some ways you can navigate those issues, but you've got to be realistic about where your business can take you based on its current form and the overall shape of the niche that you're trading in. Because if it takes 5 to 10 years to build something special, you might only get 9 shots in your life. So choose industries where there's real value to customers, and that includes B2B, and avoid wasting your time in mediocre businesses. Lesson 3 is don't walk away from income without replacing it first. It goes without saying, but this is a really stupid mistake I made in my first 6 months. There was this particular market that was just a complete pain in the arse to do. I'd end up stuck in traffic for at least an hour coming home. Setting up and packing down was annoying because we had a trolley and we had to drag everything up this dusty arse path. It ruined all my clothes, it filthied all the equipment. And then when I got home and looked at the numbers at the end of the day, I was like, this is just not worth the effort, man. However, once I left the market, we had a few bad weekends at another site and it left me scrambling. And then I realized just how important that extra income was to my cash flow. And even though it was frustrating and the returns were marginal, and yes, we did need to get out of that site, it still contributed to my bottom line. And profit is profit. So you shouldn't leave anything that contributes to positive cash flow until you have a replacement lined up. Lesson 4. Predictable cash flow accelerates growth. So the biggest pain point in my street food business was its unpredictable income. Shockingly, people don't like to go outside when it's chucking down with rain. And since I live in the UK, you can imagine how often this impacted my profit. I cannot tell you how many times it was meant to be a sunny weekend, but the second I set up my gazebo for trading, the rain came down like the flood in Noah's Ark. By then, I'd already bought the stock, paid the pitch fee, and had staff on duty that needed paying. But I relied on that day's sales to cover next week's costs, which could leave me in trouble for weeks. And that's the problem with volatile cash flow. It's basically a hustle where you start from zero every month, and it just limits your ability to grow. What I really needed was a consistent income to serve as a foundation, something like contract catering, where orders are placed in advance. That way, your income is locked in, and being stable also allows you to level up the entire business. For example, since your income now has a solid structure, you're no longer forced to be in operations because a slow day destroyed your budget. And this was something that used to happen to me all the time, where I'd planned to do other stuff, I'd had a shit weekend, and right, I now need to go and work the markets because I can't pay staff to be there. Brilliant. And speaking of staff, you can also attract better talent, as you can now offer regular hours. And both of these things then free your time so you can focus on all the high-level stuff, like improving performance and winning new contracts to grow the business. And in the eyes of investors, you're now looked at as a reliable company, and the business model is no longer a bottleneck to your growth. Instead, you've got a clear roadmap to expand, and investors are happy to jump on board with you, and this is just going to speed up the process even more. So if your business struggles with unpredictable income, ask yourself how you can smooth your revenue. Maybe it's with a new product, a new service, or even a new income model. Or maybe you need to pivot into more reliable areas of your niche. Lesson 5 is be careful who you go into business with. This was one of the most brutal lessons I've ever learned. So I jumped at the chance to become a partner in my former business, thinking it was a no-brainer. But as time went on, I noticed things that just did not sit right with me. Even though it was a step up, my business partner had other commitments, so all he really needed was a team to free up his time, and all I wanted was to build a time-leveraged and scalable asset. The business didn't need both of us, and we just got in each other's way, as we clashed on our future vision and had different methods of working. Eventually, I just felt stifled, I think he was frustrated, and both of us just wanted out of the situation. So before you even enter a partnership, you really need to ask yourself why. What value do you both bring to the table? And if something feels off, just trust your gut. I vividly remember sitting in my van one day listening to podcasts where entrepreneurs were speaking about this, and it became so obvious. The only reason you should ever partner with someone is because they have money, knowledge, or some type of intellectual property that you lack. It's also a good idea to have difficult conversations up front and decide on contractually agreed roles. Literally vet them like your future partner. I'm talking family history, politics, their views on the economy, integrity, their personal values, who gets a damn dog when you get divorced. Everything needs to be ironed out and decided in advance. Get to know them as much as possible, because their problems will become your problems and your problems are going to become their problems. And being annoyed at one another can quickly turn into resentment if it doesn't serve either party. And here's a stat for you. Up to 70% of partnerships dissolve. So you're far better off taking drastic action than prolonging the inevitable if you're in a partnership that you think is not working out. And for anyone out there who feels like they lack experience, get a job managing the type of business you want, and then start your own company when you've learnt the ropes. The final lesson, lesson 6, is do what you're good at and hire the rest. This ties in with everything I've said so far, and it's all about building a team that compensates for your gap in skills. Obviously, as the owner, you can't just ignore tasks that need doing because you're not good at them. But if you're brilliant at AdSense, let's say, and awful at writing marketing copy, then do what you know and find somebody better to do the rest. The flip side is letting your ego or a do-it-all mentality waste your time and limit your progress. That is a definition of working hard and not working smart. And this is where having a business partner who complements you can actually come in handy, but only if the relationship meets all the dynamics that I mentioned before. Across multiple industries, the top entrepreneurs have always focused on their strengths, and it's led them to massive success. And here's a few examples to prove my point. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, focused on marketing and branding. It was other people like Bill Bowerman, a trainer of Olympic running champions, who designed the shoes. When Howard Schultz visited Starbucks, he focused on recreating the cafes he visited in Italy, and he left the management of the company to experts in the industry. And for better or worse, George Lucas focused on the brilliant dialogue
I don't like sand.
and directing of Star Wars. Obviously that's a bit of a joke, but his talents did lie in having a creative vision, and all the technical stuff was left to a specialist group within Lucasfilm, which he was eventually able to sell for over $4 billion. Now this doesn't mean you're going to become a billionaire, but the lesson is simple. Leverage your time and talents to have the maximum impact. While learning is a trait of successful entrepreneurs, they're far more effective with a team of capable people that bring the best out of them. So there you have it. 6 lessons to transform your business in 2025 and help you escape the grind you're stuck in. And to take it one step further, I've got something really exciting coming up. It's a podcast/documentary with one of the best entrepreneurs I know. We'll be diving into what entrepreneurship is really like and talk about how he went from a charity fundraiser to running a business that turns over 300 grand today. It's going to be packed with valuable lessons you won't want to miss, and it's really going to delve into what you need to do as a person to succeed. So hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because avoiding these lessons early will save you years of headaches down the line.